Good afternoon. Good afternoon, class. Welcome to the history class. So today we are going to continue with the chapter Nationalism in India, and the topic for today is rebellion in the countryside, means the revolt in the countryside. Yesterday we studied about the rebellion or the movement in the cities, in the urban areas. Today we are going to start with the rebellion or the movement in the countryside, that is in the rural areas or outside the cities. Okay, so rebellion in the countryside is our topic for today. From the cities, the non-cooperation movement spread to the countryside. It drew into its fold the struggles of peasants and tribals which were developing in different parts of India in the years after the war. So basically we are going to study about the peasant struggle that was started, or the peasant struggle near Awadh. Awadh is Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh. So the year before, that means the Khilafat movement, Khilafat non-cooperation movement started in January 1921. But 1 year before that, that is in 1920, during the summers, Mahatma Gandhi and Shaukat Ali, they went on to different places in the country, to different parts of the country, mobilizing or asking for popular support, asking the people to support the movement, to join the movement and make this movement a huge success. Now other leaders also, they contributed to the cause. For example, let's say our former Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he went on, or he toured in villages of Uttar Pradesh, Awadh region, asking the he went over there, he listened to the complaints or the grievance of the peasants, of the farmers. What are their problems, how are they being discriminated, what is their demand, what they want, and he thought of a way of channelizing all the agony, all the problems, all the hardships that the peasants are facing, and use them or direct that flow or problems or their agony and their movement towards national movement. He, along with Baba Ramchandra and many other prominent figures, they toured extensively. They went on to the different villages and they even set up a Sabha, that is Awadh Gramin Sabha. Okay, this Sabha was to, for the farmers, they can come, they can tell the Sabha or the people about the problems, the hardships they are facing, the problems they are facing, and what they want, how to channelize, how to communicate their problem to the government. So let's start with it. In Awadh, the peasants were led by Baba Ramchandra, a sannyasi who earlier had been to Fiji as an indentured laborer. Indentured means bind. He was bounded labor. He was bound by the earlier debts or some other reason, maybe his forefather or whatsoever reason, but he was taken as a bounded labor, means he was enslaved, a kind of, he was in slavery. He was not free. He was not having his own free will, but he was forced to do labor, hard work. The movement here was against talukdars and landlords who demanded sorry, who demanded from peasants exorbitantly high rents. So here the farmers were upset with the landlords or talukdars. Talukdars are zamindars, landlords, those who control the land. See, at that time the system was, the revenue system was like this, that the land was allotted to zamindars or talukdars, and they were to collect the rent from the farmers, from the peasants, keep a certain portion and deposit the rest in the government treasury or to the government. And in case a talukdar or any zamindar fails to pay the amount, then his property will be confiscated or he was charged, he was penalized. So in order to save them their property, they used to ill treat or they used to be very harsh on the peasants. Also, peasants, landless labor, they used to work on the land of the zamindar talukdar, and talukdar used to ask them for favors to do certain jobs without giving them any payment, like to do some odd jobs or do some any other job which the talukdar or zamindar wants, and for rendering that service they were not given any money. Means that was a free work that a person has to do for a talukdar. Now here exorbitantly means unreasonably high. Unreasonably high means the talukdars or the zamindars, they used to charge high money. Extra high rents means very high, because they had to keep their own profit also, their commission also, so they used to charge. And in case a farmer fails to pay, then they try to collect from other farmers. In a way, the tax which the talukdars or zamindars collected was high, much higher than a person could have afford. And variety of other cess. Cess means tax. Apart from normal lagan or revenue tax, many other kind of tax, anything, whichever, whatever a talukdar or a zamindar feels like, he used to charge a tax. Tax for water, tax for anything. Peasants had to do begar. Begar, I told you, it is free work or the work which the person has to do or the farmer had to do for the talukdar or for the zamindar without getting any payment in return. At landlord's farm without any payment. See, begar is work at the landlord's farm without any payment. So these were the problems. Basically, the farmers over here in Awadh region, they were more distressed or they were more angry towards the talukdars or landlords. Landlord is, you know who is a landlord? The person who is the owner of the land. They are having huge land on their name, and they hire people, they hire laborers to work or do labor on their farm or on their land. As tenants means the person who is working on that land. Tenants means किराएदार, जो किराए पे रहते हैं, those who are paying rent or those who are working over the land. Okay, they had no security of tenure, means their tenure was not fixed. Suppose a land is there that's belong to Mr. A, and Mr. C, Mr. D, Mr. E, they are working as workers on Mr. A's land. Now Mr. A asked them to work, but he did not specify how much time are they allowed to work on the land. See, these landlords were very cunning, very clever people. They never let any person or any one particular person have the right to work on the land for long time, or they did not allow any one person to work on same land for longer time, so that he could not claim it. As per the law, if a person works or stays at a particular place for a specified time, then legally he has a right to claim the ownership of that land. So they were very clever. They did not allow the tenants or the workers to work for longer time. So they did not have any security of tenure. Maybe they are working for 1 month or 1 year and next year they removed. They are working for 3 months and they are removed, so that they cannot claim the legality or the ownership of the land. Being regularly evicted. Evicted means expelled or removed. Expelled means removed, so that they could not acquire right over the leased land. Why they were removed, why they were evicted? So that they could acquire no right over the leased land. As I've said, they were very clever people, they were very cunning. They wanted to retain the ownership of the land in their hands, so they devised the policies. They did not allow the workers or the tenants to work on that or to acquire that land for longer time, so that later on they are not troubled with the legal issues or right over the leased land. The peasant movement demanded reduction of revenue. Abolition means removal. Removal of begar and social boycott of oppressive landlord. What is oppressive? Oppressive is harsh. Harsh. Oppressive is taken from oppress. Oppress means harsh. Harsh means sakt. Damankari. Okay. In many places, Nai Dhobi Bands were organized by Panchayat to deprive landlords of the. Now, deprive means prevent from. Deprive means demand from having something. Okay, that is the meaning of deprive. So the peasants over there, or peasants are the workers. The workers, they were led by whom? Baba Ramchandra and okay, Dr. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru ji. Okay, the main or the key prominent figures in this one, the Baba Ramchandra and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, our former Prime Minister. What they did, they tried to mobilize or tried to channelize the complaints or the problems or the movement of peasants. The movement of peasants was against talukdars or the zamindars, since they had to face or the atrocities or the problems were being caused, according to them, were caused by talukdars and landlords or the landlords. So they were, their movement was against these only. So they wanted removal of talukdars, they wanted removal of all the high rents and all the problems that they were facing. Earlier I told you the main topic was different strands within the movements. I told you that movement, everyone joined, everyone did join Khilafat non-cooperation movement, but everyone had their own specific goals, everyone had their own problems, and they sought a solution to that particular problem. There was lack of unity or lack of direction. So in a way we can say that Khilafat non-cooperation movement was also a sum of various small movements or various small issues taken together and bound for a common cause. At some other places people were angry with some other kind of having some other problem, so they wanted proper solution to their problem, and when they were approached for the support for non Khilafat movement, they said okay, we will join, but you take up our issues also. So in a way, a small pieces together made a huge picture. Hmm? to deprive landlords of the services of even barbers and washermen. Barbers and washermen, I think you must be knowing. Huh? In June 1920, Jawaharlal Nehru began going around the village in Awadh, talking to the villagers and trying to understand their grievance. Grievance means complaints. Grievance means complaints. By October, the Awadh Kisan Sabha was set up, headed by Jawaharlal Nehru, Baba Ramchandra, and few others. Within a month, over 300 branches had been set up in the villages around the region. So, when the non-cooperation movement began the following year, the effort of the Congress was to integrate. Integrate means combine. Combine the Awadh peasant struggle into the wider struggle. See, I told you what was the aim? To integrate, to combine the various struggles into one major struggle that was against that was to uproot the British government from India. However, developed in forms that the Congress leadership was unhappy with. Now, everything did not go as per plan. Okay, everything did not happen, or the things went in a way no one expected, or the things took a turn which others, or which the planners had not perceived or thought of. As the movement spread in 1921, the houses of talukdars and merchants were attacked, bazaars were looted, grains hoards were taken over. In many places, local leaders told peasants that Gandhiji had declared that no tax were to be paid and the land was to be redistributed among the poor. The name of Mahatma was being invoked to sanction. Sanction means to give permission. Sanction means to grant, to give permission to all actions and aspirations. Aspirations means ambitions, hopes. Okay. Tribal peasants interpreted the message of Mahatma Gandhi and the idea of Swaraj in yet another way. Interpret means to understand in a particular way. Interpret means to understand or took it in their own particular way. Like you people interpret whatever is being taught in your own wonderful manners. Huh? Anything is said, you come up with your own bright imaginations. That is simply interpretation. In the Gudem hills of Andhra Pradesh, for instance, militant guerrilla movement. Militant guerrilla movement is a violent movement in which the people, the force who took arms, who took violent measures, they hide in the surrounding places and they attack on people, the opposition, and then they again go back in hiding. This is called guerrilla warfare or ambush. Movement spread in the early 1920s, not a form of struggle that Congress could approve. Now Gandhiji always was against any kind of violence. He always promoted satyagraha, non-violence. We have read what about this satyagrahi movement, that if the cause is true and the path is right, then truth is ultimately bound to win. Okay, bound to triumph. So what happened in the Gudem Hills was here, as in other forest regions, the colonial government had closed large forest areas, preventing people from entering the forest to graze their cattle or to collect fuel woods and fruits. Okay, so the Indian Forest Act. Now let's get back to some topic. Indian Indian Forest Act of 1878 This classified forest into three parts. One was reserved, another one was protected, and the third one was village. Second one was protected, third one was village forest. Okay, so the Indian Forest Act passed in 1878, they restricted, okay, they restricted the movement, preventing people, means restricted people from entering the forest. You see, at that time Britishers were laying down timber, this one railway tracks, and they needed timber for the sleepers, for building the ships. So what they did, they saw that India is very rich in flora and fauna, and the quality of timber is very good, timber lakdi, okay. So, and they saw that the people, the forest peoples, tribals, they used to wander from one place to another, living in the jungle, and it is very difficult for any controller or any person to control the people who are not having a fixed place. Today they are found in one place, tomorrow then some other place, then day after they are found at some other place. So it is difficult to control them. So what they did, they came up with the idea of passing a law, thereby bringing whole of the forest under the direct control of the government. So they passed this act of Indian Forest Act 1878, wherein forests were divided in three parts: reserve, protected, and village forest. People were allowed, some people were allowed, or community was allowed to collect things from village forest. Reserved and protected forests were completely forbidden, means no one was allowed to enter the forest for any reason. There were many tribal societies who had been living for generations in that particular forest, practicing the forest customs and traditions, worshipping the forest. So in a way, and living on the whatever is produced by bringing all the herbs, all the medicines, everything, all the different kind of fruits, etc., to the market and earning money from the sale. So they were asked not to go inside the forest. They were forbidden to enter the forest. They could not get fodder or or the food for the cattles. Okay, no fuel of fuel wood. Fuel wood means wood for burning. Like we all need nowadays. It is very cold. We need fuel. We need wood. Wood for burning, so that we can have a bonfire and help us. And this help us in fighting the cold. Nowadays we are like you all know, having a angithi, burning fires and enjoying a good time. So at that time they needed wood for cooking food, for any other purpose. At that time they did not had all the Bharat gas cylinders. At that time people used to have a kacha stoves, wherein wood was put, fire was lit, and the food was cooked. Okay, so they were unhappy, not happy. The people who, people of Gooden Hills, Gooden community. Okay, so they were not happy with the in passing of Indian Forest Act of 1878, which restricted or which did not allow these people to wander or move about in the forest. So they lost their livelihoods, means the people of Gooden, they lost their livelihoods, and it also affected their traditional rights over being traditional rights. Okay, the rights or the things that they have been, the tradition that they have been following for generations, these traditions were being stopped, or they were not given freedom to follow their own customs and traditions. When the government began forcing them to contribute begar for the road building, the hill people revolted. Now again, since in this case there were no talukdar or zamindar, the government was directly involved in this. There were forest officers, and the forest officers, they asked the people to contribute to work as free laborer, to do free labor for construction of what? Construction of roads. Okay, so the people started to, now that was too much. Earlier you did not allow us, you took our traditional rights, you stopped us from going into the forest, that created a problem for us, took our livelihood, we had trouble in following getting food for the cattle. Then you deprived us of our traditional rights and traditional customs. Now on top of that you wanted to do us free labor for construction of road. That was too much. So what they did, they started to revolt, or they started revolt. Now another person, Allur, this fellow, Mr. Raju Alluri Sitaram Raju, he was a very, you can say, a comical or very interesting character. The person who had come to lead them was an interesting figure, Alluri Sitaram Raju. What he claimed, that he had a variety of special powers, means he was a messenger, or he was a devdut sent by the god himself to draw the people out of the misery, to uproot the British. Now what were his special powers? Let us look at that also. So he could make correct astrological prediction. Astrological means bhavishyavaniya karna. Astrological prediction means bhavishyavani. Acharya Prasad or all the things you saw on the TV, he was a guru of that. He could make special astrological predictions. Prediction means bhavishyavani. Okay, akashi bhavishyavani karna. And heal people. He could heal people if there is any problem, if a person is sick, he is having any kind of evil spirit or any other problem, Mr. Sitaram could heal him, could again make him healthy. And he could even survive the bullet shots. Iron Man, he could survive bullet shots, means if you keep on shooting bullets, he will not die. He is having a bulletproof. Captivated by Raju, the rebels proclaimed that he was incarnation of God, means influenced by Alluri Sitaram Raju. Okay, the rebels proclaimed that he was incarnation of God. So the people, or the rebellions, the people of Gooden community, they started to spread that he was incarnation of God, means Bhagwan ka avatar. Incarnation of God means Bhagwan ka avatar. Raju talked about the greatness of Mahatma Gandhi. He said he was inspired by the non-cooperation movement and persuaded people to wear khadi and give up drinking. But at the same time, he asserted that India could be liberated only by the use of force, not by non-violence. So he was, as I said, he was a very interesting character. He presented himself in a way that people started to think or believe that he is incarnation, he is avatar of the God, and he had come to live themselves out of misery. Now this fellow, he was inspired by Mahatma Gandhi. He came to know about the movement, and he supported that movement. He praised Mahatma Gandhi in his efforts of non-cooperation. See, non-cooperation movement was a very powerful tool. Britisher came for profit. They came for profit. So how did they get the profit? They buy from us at low rate raw material. Raw materials they bought from us at low rate, took that raw material to England, manufactured, then this was taken to England, where goods were made. Again they were brought to India, and sold at high prices. So they created huge profit from India by using Indian things, Indian product only, Indian raw material. So what Mahatma Gandhi said to stop using British products. Do not use anything that is made by this one, that is made in England, or that is made by the British people. So when we stop using the British made product, obviously we are not giving revenue or profit to the British people, and when they will not get proper profit, obviously they are not interested in ruling a country without any profit, so they will leave the country and go. Okay, and to achieve this, Mahatma Gandhi said there is no need to fight, simply do not take the things from British and they will go without having any fight. This fellow, he agreed with Mahatma Gandhi on economic front on the not to use non-cooperation movement, but he did not agree to non-violence. He said use of force is necessary. He insisted on using of force, not non-violence. Okay. The Gudin rebels attacked police stations, attempted to kill British officials, and carried on guerrilla warfare for achieving Swaraj. Raju was captured, executed in 1924, and over time he became a folk hero. Okay, means regional heroes. That he made ultimate sacrifice. He had such a magical power and all the things. So that's it, class. That's all for today. Tomorrow, in the next class, we will study about Swaraj in the plantations. For any doubts, please leave comments. Thank you.